Today we talk with Sonya, a passionate food and drink marketing expert who has built a career growing some of the UK's most loved fast-moving consumer goods brands. Alongside this, Sonya also runs a marketing education TikTok account with over 30,000 followers. We discuss tips about how to get into marketing, as well as hustle and cancel cultures, and her tip for the youth today. I hope you enjoy our chat. Okay, cool. We're here with Sonya. Would you be able to give us a quick overview of what you do?
Sure. My name is Sonya. I'm a product marketer. I have 8 years of experience in product marketing. I focus mostly on food and drinks categories in my professional career. On the side, I'm also a guest lecturer at multiple universities, and I also have a TikTok account where I do marketing education.
Yeah, perfect. It's a great TikTok account. It's about 31k now, is it?
Yeah, we're at 31k. It's growing every day. I'm every day surprised that people are following me.
Yeah.
But it's really good fun, and I'm pretty proud to say that I think I'm probably the only product marketer on TikTok at the moment. So I think that's why people just follow me, because they're really curious to find out why certain things are as they are.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. I first saw one of your videos. I can't remember when it was, but I saw you went live, and I saw you were just walking around a supermarket, and people were telling you to go to certain products, and you were pointing out the flaws in them, or all the stuff they could do better. I thought, this is pretty interesting. I really like this.
Yeah,
it was really interesting to me.
It's really good. And my internet connection also died sort of halfway through, and then I got it back up. So I think people were just furious. But it's just really interesting, because I think a lot of people will think of marketing and they will think of digital marketing, which is, a big part of marketing, because it's the communication part. But they don't really realize all the pre-work that goes into it, with packaging, with design, with pricing strategies, with distribution strategies, with product development, all the things that come before consumers ever see a social media post, and how that influences decision making. So when I was in the supermarket, I was trying to explain why certain things are the way they are. Why are they on the bottom of the shelf, on the top of the shelf? Why are they priced in a certain way? Why are they in certain packaging? Why are certain things happening in store that you would usually not really think about, but that are having a really big impact on how you make decisions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's so interesting to me. Would you say that kind of, because marketing is very kind of psychological, would you say that is kind of the favourite part of your role? Just kind of making the product, making it look perfect, so people are going to say, oh, stop by and have a look, going to buy that.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a favourite part of your role?
I think psychology plays a really big part in this. I would probably say my favorite part of marketing is the strategic aspect of it, and sort of the thinking through, and like the thinking that goes into certain methods or tools that we use. I think the execution of it is sort of the cherry on top at the end of a very long process. But I think marketing is one of those areas that I feel is just hugely underappreciated for all the different factors that go into marketing. We do psychology, we do basic product development, so R&D, we do graphic design, we do communications. It's one of those areas that combines loads of different aspects and loads of different aspects of art and science, and make it really what it is today. And so that's what I love about it, the sort of the fusion of art and science, if you will. Yeah.
It's very, very multifaceted. There's a lot of places you can go with marketing.
Absolutely,
that's what makes it so interesting. So away from marketing, what would you say, what is really exciting you right now? So outside of marketing. So for example, me, as I'm sure a load of other people are, interested in cryptocurrencies, and how NFTs and stuff are kind of coming out. Is that something you share as well?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned crypto. I don't really talk about it publicly very often. I have been heavily involved in crypto for almost a decade now.
Oh, really?
Because when I was at university, the boy that I started to date, and who's now a husband, he started the UK's first crypto exchange, and he was a co-founder of that. And he started that out of his dorm bedroom,
Wow.
and so I had very early exposure to crypto. And I was very involved at the beginning, and then I sort of retreated back into marketing, but I'm still very much, following what's going on. I think NFTs are super exciting. When it comes to NFTs, there's obviously a lot going on. I think there's also a lot of hype probably around it.
I agree.
But from the people that I really see doing exciting things, like actually doing exciting things with it rather than just talking about it, probably at the forefront of that is Gary Vee. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you saw, but he just launched a Discord channel.
Yep.
And he has like a big announcement coming up on May 5th. And I think he will do very innovative and very, probably groundbreaking things with it. And even if it doesn't work out, Gary Vee is one of those people that just tries things. And pushes the boundaries. And so I think it will be really interesting to see what he does with it. And how he basically introduces tiering into NFT and auctioning into NFT. And so that I would probably say is the most exciting thing that I see at the moment when it comes to NFT and crypto.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing Gary Vee did talk about, away from NFTs just as art and people just list them as art, is you can use it as kind of like a access kind of thing, like a trying to think a better word. So say you buy this NFT for however much he's going to sell NFTs for, that will give you backstage access to one of his gigs or something. You can keep that forever. That really interests me. Outside of the art collecting thing, I think is where stuff should go with NFTs. You see music artists, so Kings of Leon did one as well, where they sold quite a few. I think they're one of the first artists to do that. Was really interesting to me. And as well, on TikTok, I'm absolutely inundated with people pushing crypto, NFTs, absolutely everything like that. And it's kind of hard to kind of say which ones are worth going into, which ones are worth pursuing, and which ones are just gonna flop. I mean, one thing that's really interesting to me is how much power Elon Musk has on the crypto market. If he tweets, everything just straight up.
That's like a double-edged sword, isn't it? So I always say I never give, investment advice. I think when it comes to crypto, I've become really reserved in talking about it because I don't want to make people feel like, I don't want to make them feel like there's a rush to do anything. I think crypto is one of those areas that is so new and so different to what people are used to when it comes to monetary and value systems that it really requires you to do the research. It's not one of those things where you can read one article and be like, okay, cool, like I'm just going to do this. All of the tools and all of the innovations in the crypto market are designed to make it accessible to the everyday man and woman and make it as easy as possible to invest and get involved. But I do still think, even though the tools might be now easier than they used to be in the past, it still does require the research. And so the second thing I always say is don't invest more than you're willing to lose. So if you put in 50 pounds and you're willing to lose 50 pounds, then invest 50 pounds. If, your limit is maybe a little bit higher, then do that. But basically, how I treat my investment is that I don't really see it as a saving. I don't even see it as an investment in a sense. I invested into crypto and I've literally forgotten about it. Like, I don't even check the price regularly. I don't take it into consideration for investment or for big purchases. It is literally just there. And I don't worry about it. And that honestly is the best way of dealing with crypto. especially if you want to see it as a long-term value hold, because as you said, there is so much misinformation going around, and so much just pressure to do things with crypto. And I just see crypto as, as you would see gold. Like, you buy gold and then you leave it somewhere locked away. You don't constantly go and check on your gold. And so that's my personal view of, how it should be handled. And then things like NFT, obviously slightly differently. It's different to that, because that is something that you would interact mostly with. And in that case, buy some Ethereum and buy the things and the items that you feel are worthwhile. But then in that case, it's obviously not, you don't use Ethereum or NFT as a value storage in that sense. You do it maybe as experiences, as you said, or if you're an art buyer, then I guess in that case, yes, you would use it as a long-term storage. But in no case should you ever invest more than you're willing to lose.
I agree. So since we're talking about the spread of misinformation and everything, primarily through TikTok, you talked to me about your TikTok. Why did you decide one day I'm going to start a TikTok and start sharing my ideas?
By accident, to be honest. I think a lot of people will tell you the same thing. So I was in second lockdown in December, and I stumbled onto TikTok. And I was looking for, the algorithm at the beginning was giving me, was trying to give me different content, things that I thought I might be interested in. And frankly, got it completely wrong. I ended up in the craziest parts of TikTok. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to give up on the app just yet. Like, I want to give it another chance. Let's see if they have something marketing related. And so I looked for marketing TikTok and I landed on marketing TikTok. And it was fascinating. It was so interesting. But what I noticed was that all of the content was focused on social media marketing. And that is one of my pet peeves when it comes to marketing. When people think of marketing, they think of social media marketing. And as someone who works in different types of marketing, I was always like, it's not only social media marketing. So basically what I did is I just started talking about my work. I had recently launched a product into market, which was a tape, a sticky tape.
Sellotape,
Sellotape, for those in the UK, the equivalent of Scotch tape for those in the US listening to this podcast. And I just explained like all the thinking that went into developing this tape, how to make it easy rip, how to make it clear, how to make it sustainable, how to make it biodegradable, all the work that went into before it ever hit social media. And people were like fascinated. They were like, oh my God, I had never thought about it this way. And that video blew up. I think it has 500,000 or 600,000 views. And people were literally like, wow, can you show me more? Like, what else are you doing? And so as someone who has launched a lot of products into the market, I started just talking about that. And that's, I think, how people got hooked in. And that's how I got hooked in, because I was like, oh, wow, there's actually people interested in this sort of stuff. And that's what I do on my TikTok. So I talk about product marketing. But I also have started to focus on people that want to get into marketing and enabling them to see all the different options of marketing that there are, and just giving them advice, career advice, basically. So yesterday, for example, I put out a post around what is better, starting in a startup or starting in an agency? Like, what are the advantages and disadvantages of going into either channel and starting your career in these two completely different types of businesses? And so these are things that you wouldn't really usually find on the internet or are hard to find for people. And so that's what I talk about.
That's great. And now we have 31,000 followers later.
Yeah, we're 31,000 people later. And I don't know why they're there, to be honest. But we'll just roll with it. I'm massively thankful for that.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. So people might struggle with starting TikToks. What advice would you say for people to just start and kind of, because a lot of TikToks, I can't say exactly for yours, a lot of TikToks won't always be viral. They won't always go viral. Some will flop. So really kind of what is your attitude to to failure, like those TikToks not doing so well, and how would you tell people how to start? Like, what barriers are there to get over?
Yeah, for sure. TikTok is a mental game. TikTok requires you to be mentally very strong and very settled in who you are and what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, the algorithm will give you like a boost. So a lot of the videos that you put out first will do very well. And that is just the algorithm designed to hook you in. But then what tends to happen is what I call the valley of death. So you have like peaks of happiness and then valleys of death. And that is completely normal. Like even the biggest TikTokers have that. And it is part of the design of the algorithm. And it's very kind for you to say, oh, well, you know, you don't have that problem with your TikTok's not going viral. I have TikToks flopping literally every day. And at the beginning, I got really upset about that. At the beginning, I was really like overanalyzing things. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, are people not liking me or whatever? But actually, it's not that at all. It's literally how the algorithm is designed to work. You will have videos that do nothing, and you will have videos that will just take off, and you don't even know why. Because the algorithm is quite new and the platform is quite new, the algorithm also changes all the time. And so it's really hard for you to keep up with all of these things and for you to measure yourself against all these numbers.
Do you find that quite frustrating that the algorithm changes so much?
I did at the beginning, but when I spoke with like bigger creators around it, you know, people that are verified, people that have millions of followers, they gave me one really good piece of advice. And that's, I guess, what I would want to pass on. You need to have fun. You need to create content that you enjoy and that is fun for you. Because at the end of the day, why people follow you on TikTok is not necessarily because of the content that you put out, because quite frankly, a lot of the content that you see on TikTok, you could probably Google if you wanted to. But they follow you because of you. They follow you because of your personality. And so if you're not having fun, that will translate to the camera and people will see that. On the other hand, if you are having fun and if you're happy with the content that you put out, no matter how many views it gets, no matter how many likes it gets, then people will understand that and people will feel that in the content and they will follow you because of you. And so I guess if you are new to TikTok, if you want to start an account, don't be too harsh on yourself. If views go low or likes go low, just continue doing what you're doing. Make sure that you enjoy yourself and have a look at, you know, your competitors or maybe other people in the industry and try to replicate or imitate some of the videos that did really well for them and see how you can translate them into your type of content. And it's a constant learning process, like everything in marketing is. It's a constant learning process. It always changes. And you just have to go with the flow, really.
For sure. So I want to talk very briefly about possibly maybe the kind of darker side of TikTok. So you got, well, particularly to me, I'm 21, I'm at uni. Throughout all the lockdowns we've had, one of the main things I'm seeing is a hustle culture. So I'm being absolutely fed all these hustle TikTok videos, everything like that, where if you're not doing XYZ, it's pointless. You should be doing XYZ. You should be chucking in 10 grand into crypto. You should be doing this and that. What is your kind of quick take on hustle culture?
Oh, you're really like digging deep today, aren't you? I actually hate hustle culture. I really do hate it. And I think there's so much pressure put on, especially, you know, the younger generation, people like you, people in high school, people in university. You know, you need to have 7 streams of passive income and you need to, you know, all of these sort of things. And honestly, that's causing so much anxiety and unhappiness in people. And I compare it to, you know, how I grew up with, I was probably the last generation that grew up without really the internet. I only got Facebook when I was like 12 or 13 or something. Hustle culture is toxic because it causes you to believe that you're not good enough if you don't do certain things, especially at a very young age. And so my point of view on this is that you have time, you know? You have time to fail, to make mistakes, to try again, and to, you know, build yourself as a person, you know, throughout your life. And so I actually have a podcast called the Plan B Podcast where I talk about mistakes and failure and how different people view mistakes and failure. And literally every single person that I've talked with said, you know, it's not a failure unless you try again. And nothing is ever final. Even the greatest ideas, the greatest projects that you try, they might not work out, and then you have to pick yourself up and you go again. And that is just part of your learning experience. And I think hustle culture sort of undermines that because it feels like a way to get rich quickly or to get famous quickly or to, you know, have a house at like 25. That's not really how it's supposed to be, you know, like it's fine if you don't have a house at 25. Like most people don't. And also once you're 25 and you have a house, what are you going to do? Like there's more problems that come with that. There's more challenges that come with that. And so I think it's very toxic, and it gives people wrong expectations of how their journey through life should be.
I agree. One thing that I've found, do you follow Grace Beverley at all?
I don't
know. The founder
know.
of Tala, no. Well, she has a book out that I bought the other day, and one thing she says in there is it's almost like hustle culture. She's very tough on hustle culture. She talks about this kind of need to announce things, this need to do a lot of things at the surface level just so you can post on Instagram, just so you can say, oh, I've done this. Like in the first lockdown, I'm sure online courses and stuff were absolutely flying. And was like, I've taken part of this course, I've been part of this call. And as well, I haven't been able to experience it, but Clubhouse, I hear people talk about a lot. Yeah. I've got an Android phone, so I haven't been able to be part of that yet. But yeah, no, it's really, really interesting. It's kind of last question on this kind of darker side of TikTok. Cancel culture as well. Are you for or against cancel culture? Because I see some people who agree with cancel culture, and they kind of say it's a good thing in one sense to police what people say and to hold them accountable for what they say. And people on the other side are like, people just want free speech and everything like that. What would your hot take be on cancel culture?
Oh, cancel culture. So I think it's undeniable.
We are diving deep today.
We are diving deep. I think it's undeniable that, you know, we are nowadays a culture that hugely values and judges publicity, right? And being very outspoken about things and sharing your opinion on everything. And I think that's great because I think it enables more diversity in conversations and enables more voices that might in the past might have not been heard. So I think that's great. But I also think it should never be at the harm of others. So I think that's where the level of free speech for me ends. And I might have a different view on this because I'm German. You know, we have very difficult history with wars and discrimination and, you know, genocide and all of these sort of things. And so my view on free speech is you can have free speech as long as it doesn't harm others. And so that sort of translates into cancel culture for me. You can choose to not interact with an artist, or you can choose to not interact with someone if you don't agree with their opinions. Should you make like a public circus out of that? Probably not. But also I think the people that do say outrageous things just to be outrageous need to have a really hard look at themselves and be like, how is this actually benefiting either myself or people around me? And do I need to share these opinions in the way that I'm sharing them? So I don't know, it's not a very clean-cut answer, but I think most things in the world are not very black or white. They usually tend to stay in the gray. And there's a lot of aspects to that need to be examined and also looked at on a case-by-case basis.
TikTok 4 was walking around supermarkets and basically kind of pointing out the bad stuff about different brands and stuff, how they could do stuff better. So one of my questions would be, off the top of your head, is there a product that you would do a complete rebrand of? What would you love to do a complete just overhaul of the brand, of the marketing, and just put it out there like you've done before?
Ooh. I'm trying to think of an example that is not a direct competitor. Okay, so one of the first examples that comes to my mind is actually a brand. I'm not gonna say its name because it is a direct competitor.
That's fine. No worries.
I don't want to like say it now.
That's fine.
But basically, it's a biscuit brand in the UK. It's actually a German biscuit brand.
Right.
But it's sold in the UK. It's doing very well. And they had a brand image was quite old-fashioned and it hasn't changed like in a very long time. And they recently did like a massive rebrand. And I think the rebrand is horrendous, like absolutely horrendous. I've been holding myself back from doing multiple TikToks on this because I was like, no, you're going to be a decent person. You're not going to do this because I'm sure there's a lot of marketers that have worked really hard on this. But as someone who works in the industry and works in that category and is very passionate about that product, I cannot understand why it was done this way. So yes, I would love to actually just have a conversation with the people who worked on this, and just to understand.
What you doing?
I just want to understand, because maybe I am completely getting it wrong, and maybe there's a lot of research and insight behind this. And see how they got there. And so yeah, if I could, without the knowledge in the background, I'm looking at that brand and I'm like, oh, I would love to just completely revamp that. Yeah, for sure. But I think if you would ask me like what brand I would love to work on and what brand I think does it extremely well, I think, Innocent will come to mind. I think Innocent does fantastic marketing all around, and not only on their social media, which is probably what most people see, but also in terms of their packaging and their pricing. It's just incredible.
Oh yeah, I remember Innocent always used to have little knitted bubble hats on top of the smoothies.
Yes,
that was great.
Such a great initiative. Yeah.
So I personally don't study marketing. I used to take a business course for a year until I switched because I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So without going too deep, 'cause I'm sure you could talk about this for hours, what would be a piece of advice you would give to university students that don't necessarily have to be studying marketing, but they're kind of thinking they want to get into marketing in the future? So they're in university, about to graduate. What piece of advice would you give to them to kind of get a foot in the door and kind of get experience in marketing?
Yes, I could talk about this all day, but there's always 2 or 3 things that I say and that I've seen to work really well for people that want to get into the industry. So from conversations that I had on my TikTok and with students, I always hear, I don't really know what type of marketing I want to do because I don't really know about all the types of marketing that I could do. And I also don't know about all the industries that I could work in. So what tends to happen is that there's 2 types of people usually. One is who is really passionate about a certain industry. So let's say, they're very passionate about fashion or they're very passionate about food. And for those students, I will always say, try to get into that industry as a marketing entry-level role. And that could be, let's say, through social media, for example. Social media is usually the most accessible because there's the most free material or online courses online that will teach you what you need to know to do social media marketing. For product marketing, it's usually a little bit harder. You tend to learn on the job. But if you know which industry you want to get into, then do that. Then basically get into an entry-level role for that industry, because you will most likely find it really rewarding because you like the industry. If you don't know the industry, and if you're if you're just open to anything, which is a great place to be in, then I would always recommend to go into an agency. Agencies are a great start into your career because they have a quite structured environment, but they still give you exposure to different industries and to different clients. And so as you work across multiple clients, or as you work across multiple campaigns, you have to learn a little bit about each industry that you work on, because you obviously create content as an agency around that. So you sort of learn you get a top line view of all the different things that are going on, and then once you find something that you really like, you can then dive into that. So I think that's usually the two types of people that I tend to meet. And then in terms of roles, I think doing like the online certificates that are available for free, like on HubSpot, on Facebook, Google Garage, you can do all of these for free, and you can learn about social media marketing, and that will give you like a really good heads up on what it is like to work in marketing.
You talked about quickly the certificates you can take online. As someone who's been in marketing for a while, how much weight do you give to those certificates? Say if someone comes to you and says, I've got XYZ certificate, looking for a job, how much would you value those certificates?
I would value them actually quite a lot, even if you don't apply for a social media role. So I've been doing a lot of recruiting in the last 6 months. I actually hired a completely new social media marketing team, who, by the way, don't have any certificates. Actually, no, one of them has, I think, one certificate. But I think the certificates show that you're willing to learn, that you're willing to get prepared on things, and also having like that knowledge will be super useful for entry-level roles. So I think it really works on multiple levels in terms of showing that you're keen, showing that you're willing to learn, so showing that you have the right work attitude. But at the same time, if the role is a social media role, then it's also very useful knowledge to have on the job. If you apply to other marketing roles like event marketing or market research or product marketing for that matter, it still shows that that you're willing to get your feet wet before you even start, and that you're basically doing research on the industry, and having a basic knowledge in that is super useful.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna kind of wrap up a little bit. I've got a few more questions,
Sure.
and we'll just kind of give a quick overview at the end. So when you finished university, did you go on to do a master's? You did. So from what you remember, what was kind of the most challenging thing you faced, like post university? So you've got your bachelor and your master's. You just graduated. What was going through your head? What were you thinking?
I was very lucky. So I did my master at Warwick University, and we had a lot of employers coming to campus, advertising roles, and so I went to every single one of them. I talked with all the different employers, and I didn't ask them like the questions that usually people would ask them, like, "Oh, can I send my CV?" or like, like the traditional questions that are being asked. I actually went and I was like, okay, what are your learning programs? Like, how's your personal development path? What makes people succeed in these roles? And I basically built a little bit of a library of things that I wanted to work on and that I thought that I needed to do well in the jobs that I was applying for. And so I applied to, a couple of companies, and I was very lucky that I actually had 2 offers at the end of the school year. And I just chose between, the 2 offers that had been given. And I chose to go into food back then because I love food. So that's how I ended up in food marketing.
Oh, brilliant. So how long am I going for? Okay, so if we kind of wrap up and we have just one overview.
Sure.
And that's, if you could speak to the entirety of the youth generation right now, what final piece of advice, doesn't have to be related to absolutely anything that we've talked about, what piece of advice would you give to young people just starting out, any kind of just going through university, about to graduate? What would you say to them?
That is a great... Okay, so dear today's youth, the two most important things that I would have liked to know when I was your age, and I'm not that far removed, but when I was younger, is self-awareness and self-belief. Don't let anybody tell you how much you're worth or what you can and what you cannot do. Believe in yourself because nobody else will. And be really secure in who you are and what you want to be. At the same time, you need to work on self-awareness, and you need to be able to understand what are your strengths and what are your opportunities and what you want to work on in the future, and be really humble around that, and take advice from people that you really value. Don't take advice from everyone and anyone on the street. Take advice from people that you really value, and take that advice to heart, and work on yourself, and see that as a continuous process that you will start now and end on the day that you die, because that is what life is about, is a continuous learning process. And I think having that combination of self-belief and self-awareness is what will make this generation so important, and so successful, I think. I'm super excited about Zillennials. I'm super excited about Generation Z. I think you guys are incredible. You guys are really incredible. And what I see you all doing on social media and in the real world, it is so inspiring. And so know that, the other generations, the older generations, are looking up at you and are really admiring you guys. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Perfect. Well, Sonya, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today.
No worries at all.
So if we want to find you on social media, where should we look?
If you want to find me on social media, I always say to connect with me on LinkedIn. I know nobody ever says this, but please connect with me on LinkedIn. If I can help you in any way to connect you to employers or give you any advice, then please do so. You can find me under Sonya Gonzalez Mier. I'm sure Jake will put my name into the description of the podcast. And find me also on TikTok if you are interested in product marketing or career advice around marketing. It's also under my name, so sonya.gonzalezmier. And don't be afraid to reach out, and I'll see you there.
Perfect. Thank you.